Yahoo Incorporated is known as Yahoo based in Sunnyvale, California. Yahoo is one of the most popular websites on the internet that provides the user with the wide range of services. Yahoo was founded by David Filo and Jerry Yang, who both are the Doctor of Philosophy PhD candidates in electrical engineering at Stanford University. Initially, Philo and Yang named the project as Jerry and David's Guide to the World Wide Web, but they renamed it into Yahoo means yet another hierarchical officious oracle. In the fall of 1994, Yahoo had its first million hit day when almost 100,000 people visited the websites. In 2nd March 1995, Philo and Yang formed the company, Secure Capital, or known as Silicon Valley, which is the same business that invested in Apple Computer, Atari, Oracle, and Cisco System, agreed to fund Yahoo with $2 million for the first investment. In the fall of 1995, Yahoo was able to get further finance from Mutual Limited and SoftBank. Yahoo formed Yahoo Japan and Yahoo Europe with SoftBank and its affiliates. In 8 March 1997, Yahoo purchased online communication startup 411 and renamed it as Rocket Mail. Yahoo purchased ClassicGame.com and renamed it as Yahoo Game. Yahoo bought Just City and E-Group to create the Yahoo Group and Yahoo Messenger services. In 1997, Yahoo launched Yahoo Korea and built the Internet Navigation Services Netscape Guide for Netscape Communication that now is the part of America Online. Yahoo offers the clients for Yahoo Visa cards. In 1999, Yahoo Radio created as the online radio service. Yahoo purchased the software company Encompass and signed the agreement with Spring. Yahoo established the Yahoo B2B marketplace. Yahoo incorporated an enterprise information portal with partner Intomi, Critical Path, and TIPCO. In 2000, Yahoo purchased email communication provider E-Group and minority position in internet phone service provider Net2Phone. Yahoo debuted its streaming video application Yahoo Player as well. The broadcast channel Finance Vision. In June 2002, Yahoo shifted Intomi to Google for the search engine supplier. In 18 February 2004, Yahoo abandoned Google Power Search and reverted to its own technology. Yahoo doubled the storage of both its premium and free subscription email services after Google debuted Gmail that offer 1 GB of storage. Since 2004, Yahoo has been compete with Google. Yahoo has acquired Flick, Yahoo 360, and upcoming.org in order to stay ahead with Google. Yahoo is passionate in order to give the new services in order to attract and keep as many internet users as possible.
Okay, so the first issue of the case study is the exorbitant remuneration package. So in the case study, it has been stated that Di Castro was paid a huge amount of remuneration, although he showed the poor performance in Yahoo. So Yahoo company actually showed the failure to the organization when they paid the high salary to the top management. The question is whether there are any impact of revenue to the company. Okay, so it obviously have a big impact to the revenue of the company, since the money has been used to pay for the top management instead of focusing on the product of the company. Because before the company to hire Di Castro, they need to pay him a huge amount of money just to ensure that Di Castro accept the Yahoo. And then the other question is, Di Castro as an executive in Yahoo, is he actually can have a share? And if he can, how it actually happened? What is the reason? So the question also has been asked, like, how Di Castro managed to make an agreement about the huge remuneration package to tie, and who is actually agreed with the agreement. Besides that, Di Castro also he also received the benefit of $1 million as a compensation for him for taking his previous employment in Google. So the failure of the company also can be seen when there is a non-qualified basis on determining salary of Di Castro. So the company should really do research on what basis they should allocate a big amount of salary to Di Castro. Okay, so the second issue of the case study is the appointment of non-competent top management. So the top management are supposed to be competent since they will lead the company to be more successful. The non-competent top management will lead to the failure of the company. In the case study, we can observe that the board consideration has been neglected. The reason is because there is no one can give their consideration when CEO Marissa Mayer appointed Di Castro as the CEO of the Yahoo. As the appointment of Di Castro is just only be made by CEO Marissa Mayer. So the issue has been questioning is the employment of director are not competency. Director has higher position than CEO, but why CEO can make decision to appoint Di Castro without any consent from director? In addition, CEO Mayer also did not respect director's concern about the background of the person to be appointed. CEO Mayer supposedly to make a background check before appointing Di Castro as the COO of Yahoo. However, we know that CEO Mayer herself have the history working at Google with Di Castro, and she believed that Di Castro could be able to improve the business of Yahoo. CEO Mayer have also asked whether she have unethical manner involving within the appointment of top management, because she's supposed to have ethical manner and respect the consideration of director. She's supposed to be professional and ask for the consideration of directors whether to appoint Di Castro as the CEO. Okay, and the third issue of the case study is about the ineffectiveness of the top management. So the appointment of top management and the salary was supposed to be decided by the board of the directors through committees. So this actually shows how ineffective the board directors, since they are not making an effective decision. They did not make a firm decision making without proper information, because as we can see from the case study, where they did not have any consideration about the appointment of the Di Castro, since the only one that have the consideration is CEO Mayer. So they did not make a firm decision without proper information. Board directors are also supposed to search the information before appointing someone, because board director also can also are not be able to enforce their opinion, since CEO Mayer just ignored and appointed Di Castro. Supposedly CEO Mayer should never ignore and ask for the opinion before the appointment of Di Castro. Besides, board of directors are supposed to search the information before appointing CEO Mayer herself, since she did not give them any chance for the directors to give their decision about the appointment. So this is actually a proof that the board cannot manage the company properly. Question of the case study. So for the issue 1, the discussion question is, what is the impact of revenue to the company? So for the second issue, The discussion question are: does employment of directors are not competency? Does CEO did not respect directors' concern about the background of the person to be appointed? And does CEO show the unethical manner involving with the appointment of top management? And the last issue, the discussion question is: does the board director is not effective in making decision? And what are the quality backgrounds of the committees? Okay, I will proceed with my last point, which is about the discussion objective. So for the first issue, their discussion objective are to study the impact of revenue to the company. For the second issue, the discussion objective is to study the competency of employment of directors, to investigate whether CEO did not respect directors' concern about the background of the person to be appointed. And the last discussion objective is to examine the unethical manner involving with the appointment of top management. For the last issue, the discussion objective is to investigate the ineffectiveness of the board directors in making decisions and to study the quality background of the committees.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is ADILAH ZULKIFLI and I shall proceed with the literature review. First of all, let us start with the determinants of executive salary. According to Talha 2009, directors' remuneration should be embraced in the corporate governance process. He also mentioned that if the way in which it is handled did not follow the process, it can have a damages impact on the company's reputation and on the overall morale of the company's employee. In general, the level and the makeup of remuneration should be sufficient to attract and retain the directors needed to run the company successfully. According to Agawal 1981, job complexity is a measure of the size and the nature of the responsibility required for a job. In this concept, one sees what a job actually is rather than how well the post holder is performing. In which we can say the more complex the organizational structure is, the more complex the pattern of the responsibility. Next is the employee's ability. Agawal mentioned that organizations with a more ability to pay usually maintain a higher level of salaries for executives to attract and retain the quality of the employees. The two indicators that measure the employee's ability to pay are: one is total profit, in which net operating gain before tax and dividend, and the second one is rate of return, in which the ratio of total profit to asset. Bursa Malaysia also has provided indicator to determine the salary of the executive director, in which number one is the performance of the director, for example like whether there is a high in shareholder return or not. The second one is skill that the directors have, for example like skill in negotiating, financial and budgeting skills. And the third one is the work experience in years, for example like how long have the person worked in the top level management. The fourth one is the economic condition for like the living standard. And the fifth one, which is the last one, is the situation of the market level, for example like wage rate of the rival. And that is according to Sheikh and Khalid in 2007. It's quantitative and qualitative knowledge needed in determining the remuneration. The first one is in accounting methodology. One of the most popular ways to evaluate the executive remuneration is by comparing pay and performance. According to Cooper 2019, comparing pay to stock performance can help to determine whether the executives are overpaid or not. The specific metric used most often is comparing the change year over year in the executive pay increases to the change year in stock price. If the change in the year in stock price outpaces or exceeds the change in pay, then the executive is not overpaid. Cooper also highlighted that executive remuneration is a very important issue for investors to consider when making decisions. He also mentioned that an improperly compensated executive can cost shareholders money and can produce an executive who lacks the incentive to increase profit and boost the share price. According to Part 1B and Part 4B of MCCG, it also recommends that companies can link executive directors' remuneration to company and individual performance. According to SHRM 2018, compa ratios are useful for identifying at a glance when employees' pay rates are below the minimum or grey circle and above the maximum rate circle, in which employees fall above or below the midpoint. If most employees' pay rates fall above the midpoint, the new system risks its obsolescence or can no longer be used, and that is according to SHRM 2018. This can help the committee to actually detect which employees are overpaid and underpaid. Next is market analysis from human resource perspective. Job analysis is the process of studying a job to determine which activities and responsibilities that include the qualifications to the performance of the job and the conditions under which the work is performed. Job evaluation is the process of comparing a job to the other job within the organization to determine the appropriate pay rate. These 2 points are nearly the same, but actually it is different. Job analysis is done to develop a job description, while job evaluation is a systematic way to determine the value or worth of a job in relation to the other job in an organization. Basically, job evaluation is the process of determining the importance of a particular job in relation to the other job of the organization. As job analysis involves in collecting information on the characteristics that differentiate the job, thus, the following factors help make distinction between the job, in which there are knowledge, skills and abilities, work activities and behavior, interaction with others, internal and external, performance standard, and financial budgeting and impact. Job analysis has a function in establishing similarities and differences in job content. If jobs have an equal content, then the pay established for them will likely to be equal. If different, then those differences along with the market rates will become part of the rationale for paying certain jobs differently. Job evaluation involves determination of relative worth of each job for the purpose of establishing wage and salary differentials. Relative worth is determined mainly on the basis of job description and job specification only. Job evaluation helps to determine wages and salary grades for all the jobs. It is believed that employees need to be paid depends on the grade of the jobs. Market analysis is a 5-part process to identify the area within which the employees are competing for labor, to conduct and participate in market survey within the labor market to determine the salaries being paid for specific position, and also to work with the management to validate the market areas, market competitors and job matches. And next one is identify the market trends such as ancillary pay, merit and pay practices. And lastly, to establish, adjust and or recommend salary structures that will allow the company to effectively compete for staff within a specific classifications of levels. Move to the competency of the top management. Competency are the qualities the individual can use to perform activities in an exemplary and successful manner, and that is according to Du Bois and Rothwell. They consist of the numerous forms and combinations of knowledge, skills, abilities, motives, and traits. Tiranska 2016 mentioned that the top management of the high level of management performs the role of strategists, like shaping the future and appropriate personal and social competency, in which he or she should have the competencies conducive to shaping the future and with appropriate personnel and have social competency skills. Olex in 2006 mentioned that the top management competency must consist of knowledge and skills in the area of strategic management, which consists of having knowledge of the various types of strategy, proceed in accordance with the principle of business ethics oriented on the system management and have the ability to generate profit for the business. Orpinas 2010, social competency is defined as the ability to handle the social interaction effectively. Olex in 2006 explained that social competency refers to getting along well with the others, being able to form and maintain the close relationship, and responding in adaptive way in social setting. Like CEO, they need to have the ability to cooperate with people and have an effective influence on them. Also, ability to choose people from the key position in the organization and the ability to recognize the common interests of organizational skills. In 2006 also highlights that top management, they need to have a future-looking competencies in which they need to prepare the organization to function effectively and efficiently in the future. And also they need to survive and develop, maximize the long-run profits, fulfill the company's social mission and protect it against the internal and the external threat. Now, let's talk about the stock option scheme. Stock option scheme can be defined as the right to purchase share of the corporation at or below the market price at the time the option is granted for a specified period of years. Companies widely use employee stock option as a part of compensation package, in which to retain and encourage executives to act in the shareholders' interest and link this form of compensation to value building performance. There are pros and cons in the stock option scheme. According to HRD 2016, the pros of the stock option scheme is in a human resource perspective, they may increase the staff retention that require the employee to remain employed for a certain period of time before the share can be issued or sold. Next, it can provide an ownership in the company they work and make them feel more connected to the business. Whereas the cons of the stock option scheme are, it can result in the high level of the composition of executive for mediocre business result even if they have been fired. And the next one is executive who receive share option tend to focus on the short-term result. They are more inclined to take excessive risks and engage in the speculative behavior. Moving on to the quality background of nominating committee, remuneration committee, and risk committee. Nominating committee. According to RIGROC, corporate governance code typically encourage boards to establish nomination committees for the purpose of identifying and selecting new members. According to Bursa Malaysia Corporate Governance, a listed issuer must establish a nominating committee which comprises exclusively of the executive director, a majority who must be independent. The committee may be a person who have a human resource background and having gained experience and insight in recruitment, sociology, and the dynamics of boardroom relationship that could contribute to more effectively as the nominating committee chairman. The nominating committee main responsibilities are in the process of recruiting directors, evaluating their performance, and driving the continuous performance of the board. The committee is remuneration committee. As stated in the guidance to practice 6.2 of MCCG, the remuneration committee should only consist of non-executive director and the majority of them must be independent director, drawing advice from expert if necessary. Bursa Malaysia Corporate Governance Guide, director who are shareholders should abstain from voting at general meeting to approve their fees. Similarly, executive directors should not be involved in deciding their own remuneration. This is to protect the credibility and integrity of the committee and the company, and as well to avoid the misuse of power. Responsibility of the remuneration committee are to assist the board in developing and administrating a fair and transparent procedure for setting policy on remuneration of director and senior management. Lastly is Risk Management Committee. According to MCCG 10.3, it comprises a majority of independent directors to oversee the company's risk management framework and policies. The role of Risk Management Committee is to review the risk appetite and the tolerance and recommend for approval, and that is according to Bursa Malaysia Corporate Governance Guide. This is to safeguard the shareholders' investment and the company's asset, as been mentioned by Langanger 2020. Such consideration is to promote a better risk governance and to ensure that the risk oversight is value-adding, and that is stated by the Deloitte in 2012. Last part of literature review is Golden Parachute. According to Venkateswara Rao, Golden Parachute refers to the agreement that provides the substantial benefits given to a top executive or to a group of executives that provides income when the person is terminated due to corporate restructuring. However, Morrison in 1982 expressed that the opinion of the Golden Parachute are nothing but provision of insurance against the incompetence. This benefit of Golden Parachute includes stock option, cash bonus, severance pay, and the combination of these. That is according to Venkateswara Rao. There are pros and cons of Golden Parachute. The first pros is, according to Venkateswara Rao 2015, Golden Parachute are useful for attracting and retaining higher level of employee, especially when the companies are under the risk of corporate restructuring. Golden Parachute will be useful for attracting top level of executive by providing insurance against the risk. And the next one is, according to Prokech 1987, mentioned that with presence of Golden Parachute also, it can prevent anti-corporate restructuring tactics. Top executives can be tempted to delay or even sabotage the effort of the corporate restructuring because they are afraid of losing their own job. With the Golden Parachute clause, it can guarantee their composition in the event of the corporate restructuring which might affect their position. Moving on to the cons, according to Noble 1986, it can drain the company's money. It is which the company will pay the substantial amount of money even when terminating the employees for a good cause. This will definitely drain the organisation fund. The secondly is encourage the inefficiency. It will give insurance for the performance. Poor performing top executives are being protected through this arrangement in the case of corporate restructuring.
So I proceed with the next, which is analyze the case study. So the first point is the exorbitant remuneration package. As based on the case study, the former CEO, De Castro, had received a high severance pay, about $58 million. He had been appointed as the CEO of the Yahoo advertising sale, but he was fired in January as he failed to revitalize the Yahoo advertising sales. He had been working in Yahoo for 15 months, and Mayer, the CEO, had taken several steps to revive the Yahoo business. However, the Yahoo still continued to struggling, but its competitors still maintaining a strong revenue growth. It's been reported that its quarterly profit jumped at the end of the last year, but the revenue sank in a troubling sign for the struggling internet pioneer. The California firm have been reported that the profit up to the 28% in the fourth quarter. Meanwhile, the revenue had slid 6% of it in the same period of year. The investors also were troubled as the 6% were dropped, as well as the revenue for the full year and the Yahoo share also. This situation also does not help the De Castro either. Many may criticize there's lack of the revenue growth has been seen. However, in the reality, the stock is actually up huge, and the investor has decided to take the money off the table as for now. Then the next is for the golden parachute. The golden parachute is actually an agreement between a company and an employee specifying that the employee will receive a certain significant benefits if the employment is terminated. This may include the severance pay, cash, bonuses, stock option, or other benefit. As to further distinguish the golden parachute agreement from the severance payment, the amount of the severance payment is actually based on the year of service of the company. Meanwhile, the golden parachute is actually based on the individual negotiation between the executive and the company. So actually, the golden parachute is much larger and richer as the package of benefits include stock and option grant, multiple years worth of full compensation with bonus, full vesting in retirement package, and also extend the healthcare coverage. This golden parachute agreement has its names because it provides a soft landing, a financial landing for a terminated executive. As based on the case study, we can say that the $58 million severance package value is attributed to Yahoo rising stock price, while De Castro was in the company. However, the Security and Exchange Commission filing indicates that the package was worth $17 million in October of 2012. However, by early 2013, the parachute had increased to its final size of $58 million. Due to this, it can be said that the severance package of De Castro was widely seen as a golden parachute, as it provides a soft landing of the financial for the executive upon the termination happen. Next point is about the appointment of a non-competent top management. As based on the guideline of Bursa Malaysia, by considering a senior management vacancy, the board should have the benchmarking internal candidates against the external applicant. It can be said that the succession plan needs to be implemented and considered as a process in recruiting the employees, as for to able to identify who is more suitable for the position by the committee, need to identify the gaps of the current employees to their competency level. To be said in this case, Maya does not implement or make any benchmarking to be compared. in the situation to appoint De Castro. She just confidently believed that De Castro is suitable to fill in the position due to his past experience. Therefore, Meyer did not. Therefore, due to this, De Castro failed to meet her goals by the fall of 2013, and she had fired him as due to the less satisfactory performance in boosting the Yahoo advertising sale. Thus, in this case study, we can say that the employment of De Castro concluded as not competence, as the board failed to assessing and reviewing the competency of De Castro before hired him as the CEO. It also can be said that the CEO, Marissa Mayer, might use her power as the CEO of the company to directly appoint the CEO, De Castro, COO, rather than taking advice from the nominating committee. Then the next is about, as based on the case study, which the CEO, Mayor, did not tell or really explain to the board who is the new CEO to be appointed. Mayor just mentioned that someone who is professional and reliable from Google, but did not tell the name. Not only that, she also does not respond and also delay the answer when be questioned to her. This issue is unlikely to be occurred as and can be avoided if Mayor perform his responsibility and practice it in an ethical manner in the business. Thus, it shows that the CEO actually does not respect the director's consent about knowing the background of the person to be appointed, and at the same time the CEO shows the unethical manner involving with the appointment of the top management. Hence, due to it is important for the CEO to inform and discuss with the board as well as to do a research before taking any action. Next, it is about the Golden Parachute Agreement. Despite having a positive impact of the golden parachute, it seems also have a negative impact that surround this executive agreement. It can be seen in the sheer size of the payout to terminated executive is often monumental, and particularly when compared to the traditional severance agreement offered to the rest of the employees during a layoff. This seems to inappropriate treatment of one group over another group, as it viewed negatively as an unethical by the shareholders and employees. This agreement also can be said that seems the reward to the failed executive for poor performance. In many high-profile cases, an executive terminated for a poor performance end up receiving a veritable fortune through their golden parachute clause. This seen as irrational and unfair by the shareholders and other employees. As based on the case study, we can say that in the Castro case seems to be not perform his job well and been fired or terminated, but still he received a lot of benefits from it. As the executive, it can be said that as executive may be fired for doing something unethical or does not perform well, but still they receive a rich payout with the golden parachute clause that have in their contract. Then the last point is about the ineffectiveness of the top management. As based on the case study, we can say that the CEO, Marissa Mayer, had decided to hire De Castro as the CEO of the Yahoo due to his past experience in the Google, which also known as his former company. It also as an attempt to revive the Yahoo advertising segment, which contributes significantly to its total revenue in 2013. Yahoo had slipped to fourth place, giving the higher place for Facebook and Google. Therefore, Marissa Mayer decided to hire De Castro as the CEO. However, there are several critiques had been expressed on the De Castro appointment due to him was described as having a difficult personality, although he is well known as a disciplined and hardworking style, but does not well liked by the other people under him. Nevertheless, despite having a widespread criticism among others, Mayer still stand on her decision and went ahead to hire after receiving the broad approval and without further reviewing and assessing in details the capability of the De Castro. So this situation can be said that the board director actually does not effective in making decision. They just follow and listen to the mayor despite to ask more detail about the background, the CEO, and or even to prevent the hiring of the De Castro as the new CEO. Lastly, the next point is about basically to be said that his compensation and award package was originally proposed by Mayer as the director of Yahoo to the committee, in which the committee had gave her the authority to negotiate with the De Castro regarding to his package. As being based on the guideline practice 6.2 of MCCG, actually in designing the remuneration package for the director, it should only be done by the remuneration committee without any interference of the executive director. It should and shall only be consisting of a non-executive director, and majority of them are independent directors. It is as to ensure that the remuneration process, decision and policy shall be set through independent and transparent process. Therefore, in this case study, it clearly showed that the recent intervention of the executive director in designing the remuneration package of the De Castro arrangement, and the committee does not have left any negotiation decision of the De Castro arrangement to Mayer. Thus, due to it, it can be said that the reliability of the remuneration package made by the committee can be a challenge, since it has not been set through independent and transparent process. It can be said that the quality of the committee is not reliable and effective, as they do not perform their job and task as it should.
Okay, the root cause on the issue is the appointment of the incompetent executive director. Okay, the board of directors are not effective in the decision making, which led to the failure of the organization. In the case, the board must be able to make a firm decision making with enough proper information. Okay, this is where the board of directors must be effective on the appointment of the new directors, where it is a matter for considerations and decision by full board upon the appropriate recommendations from board nominations and remunerations on committee. While in the selection process of a new board, the nominations and remunerations committees are the one who will consider the criteria required of a candidates, among others. This is including the candidate's skills, expertise, education background, qualifications, experience, competency, integrity, independence, and diversity. Okay, next, the second suggestion is in the remunerations of the executive directors. It is important for the organizations to have a good corporate governance, where a good corporate governance is that remunerations is given to that particular director should be linked to some extent to organization's performance. Okay, before the remunerations is being given, it has to be decided by the board of nominations and remunerations committee, which are the directors itself, to determine whether the directors is being rewarded too much or not.
The remunerations given must be based on the performance and contributions of the executive directors towards the organization. This is where some boards fail to recognize the importance of the roles of the nominations committee, which leads to the organizations to ineffective nominations committee. This is where an effective nominations committee has far-reaching effects on the organizations, because it is committee's work that determines who board leaders will be for many years into the future. Last but not least, the last suggestion is an organization required to have a good committee structure, since any major decisions in the organizations are made at the board meetings. Okay, it must be noted that most of the work that supports and implements board decision making occurs at the committee levels. It shows that every decision made by the board at the committee levels will influence the organization's performance. The boards must make a good decisions where they are coming prepared to the board meetings, sharing their ideas and perspective. Not only that, any views and ideas given by each director should be listened by fellow with respect, to give them voice objective opinions on the issues arise. This is where, if the board has a committee structure that functions inadequately, this can lead to the poor
Based on the case study, the root cause in the issue is the appointment of incompetent executive director. When the nomination of a new director is the subject for deliberation and determination by the whole board of directors, the board nomination and remuneration committee must make the necessary proposal. Besides that, the another issues of the case study is the exorbitant remuneration package through the good corporate governance, as the remunerations paid to the individual director should be linked to some extent to organization's success. Lastly, the issue for the case study is the ineffectiveness of the top management, as a crucial part in order to provide good culture within the organization in order to achieve the mission and vision of the company. Hence, from the case study issues, it can become the sort of evaluation and reflection for other company to develop successful and comprehensive company within the employee, employer, and the organization.